He laughed with her in their family's group photo. Her hand slipped into his, smiling like she belonged. But I was the one who packed his lunches, ironed his shirts, memorized his schedule. I watched it all from my phone. He thought I'd cry, scream, beg, but I didn't. I smiled. And I started planning my exit. I always thought betrayal would come loud, like the slam of a door or a shouted confession. But in real life it tiptoes in. Quiet, soft, almost polite. The first time I felt it, he didn't even say a word. Just a picture. It was a Sunday afternoon and I was folding laundry in our shared apartment. My phone buzzed. A tag on social media. I tapped it, half distracted, and froze. It was him. Surrounded by his family. His mother. His father. His cousins. And her. A woman I had never seen before. Pretty. Effortlessly poised. Her arm linked through his like it had been that way for years. Caption read. So happy to introduce her to the family. Finally feels right. My name wasn't there. No mention of me. No trace that I even existed. And that's when I realized. I didn't. Not to him. Not anymore. We'd been together for 4 years. Lived together for 2. I had spent holidays with his family. Sent birthday gifts. Even helped his sister with her job application. He once told me I was the only woman who made him believe in forever. What a joke. I didn't confront him that night. I made dinner. Like always. I asked him about his day. He lied. Something about a meeting running late, his mom being sick. I nodded. Inside something began to unravel. But I let it. I didn't need answers. I needed a plan. I started small. The next day I printed copies of all the utility bills under my name. The apartment lease. The joint credit card. Every thread that connected us. While he slept, I created a private email, opened a separate bank account, and slowly started shifting my paychecks. I changed my emergency contact at work. I updated my mailing address to a P.O. box. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just got organized. It's funny, people expect revenge to be fire. Explosions. Tears. But sometimes revenge is a quiet checklist. And I was just getting started. By the second week I'd memorized his routines better than he had. He always left his phone unlocked at night. Trusted me. I knew her name now, Delilah. She worked in marketing and apparently they'd met at a conference 3 months ago. He told her he was single. Told her I was his roommate, just until the lease ends. I saw their texts. I saw her selfie in his shirt. My shirt. I saw the breakfast I made him posted on her story with a caption that read, "He makes the best omelets." No, Delilah. I made those. But he let you believe that. That was the moment the last ember of love inside me turned to ash. He still kissed my cheek before leaving. Still told me he loved me. He had no idea that every drawer I emptied, every book I packed, every item I sold on Facebook Marketplace, it was all part of my exit strategy. He thought I was being moody. Tired. Maybe a little hormonal. Not once did he ask if I was okay. Because the thing about people like him, they assume you'll always be there. Until you're not. 2 weeks later, I booked a moving truck for a Saturday morning when he'd be at a team building retreat. I found a small studio apartment on the other side of town. Tiny but mine. The night before I left, I made his favorite dinner. Pasta carbonara. Garlic bread. A glass of red wine. We ate in silence. He scrolled through his phone, laughing quietly. Texting her. I wanted to scream. To throw the plate. To slap the smug indifference off his face. But I didn't. I just smiled and said, "You're quiet tonight." He shrugged. "Work's been crazy." Liar. When he fell asleep, I stood beside the bed for a long time. Not out of love. But to remember this moment. The last night I'd ever be near someone who could betray so effortlessly, so thoroughly, and still sleep like a baby. The next morning I left before dawn. I had already signed the lease. Transferred the utilities. Set up my new life. The truck arrived at 6. My friend Ava helped. She didn't ask questions. Just hugged me tight and said, "You deserve so much better." I didn't cry. Because I wasn't sad. I was free. I left a note on the kitchen table. Just one sentence. "You knew what you were doing. So do I." No threats. No confrontation. Just closure. By noon I was gone. Phone number changed. Socials deleted. Ghosted. I left him with everything he thought I cared about. Our furniture, the coffee machine I gifted him, even the record player we used on lazy Sundays. But I took the one thing he never thought I'd have the courage to take. Myself. I didn't disappear into nothing. I rebuilt. I launched my own design business. A dream he used to laugh at. Said it was too risky. That I should wait until we were settled. Funny how I never realized he meant settled with someone else. Within 3 months I had clients. Within 6 I had partnerships. I no longer introduced myself as his girlfriend. I was just me. And that was more than enough. But life has a sense of irony. 8 months later I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. A few minutes later a voicemail played. Hey, it's me. I saw your feature in that magazine. You look amazing. I've been thinking a lot. I made a mistake. Delilah and I were not. Anyway, I'd love to talk. Maybe start over. If you want. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. He thought I'd be waiting. He thought I'd forgive. He thought I'd still be the woman who folded his laundry while he smiled in another woman's family photo. But I wasn't her anymore. And he'd never get to know the woman I'd become. When I first moved into my new place, it didn't feel like home. The walls were too white. The windows didn't face the sun right. The air smelled like fresh paint and broken beginnings. But it was mine. I sat on the floor with a single mattress, a second-hand table, and the tiniest coffee machine you could imagine. It wasn't much. But after years of making myself smaller to fit his life, this space was where I could finally breathe. Every morning I woke up before the city. I'd make coffee, sit on my balcony wrapped in a thrifted blanket, and whisper my goals out loud like they were sacred promises. 1. Never go back. 2. Make something so big he'll never be able to ignore it. 3. Be someone he can never reach again. That voice message from him? The one where he said he made a mistake. I replayed it only once. Not because I missed him, but because I wanted to remember how weakness sounded in his voice. The same voice that once made me feel safe. In the months after I left, my world changed. What started as small freelance design gigs, logos for friends, menus for cafes, turned into a full-blown business. A woman I met at a networking brunch referred me to her husband's firm. Within weeks, I had my first corporate client. Within 3 months, I had 6. My name started showing up in articles. I was interviewed in a podcast about women who built their dreams after heartbreak. They called me a phoenix. But I wasn't reborn from fire. I lit the match myself. I didn't stalk his social media. I didn't ask mutual friends about him. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. Sometimes people fall into your path whether you want them to or not. One night, while waiting for a client dinner at a rooftop bar, I spotted them. Him and Delilah. She was clinging to his arm, laughing too loud. He looked different. Tired. Almost hollow. He glanced around and for one awful second our eyes met. I didn't flinch. I just turned away and ordered another drink. That moment I realized something terrifying and beautiful. I didn't feel anything. A week later I received a DM on Instagram. From him. You looked stunning the other night. I almost didn't recognize you. You've changed, in the best way. I miss us. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I blocked him. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't want a single piece of my new life touched by the man who treated me like a placeholder. He chose her. He introduced her to his family while I was still folding his clothes. Now he wanted back in. Well, I wasn't just gone. I had outgrown him. But karma doesn't forget. 2 months later, I was hired by a major interior design firm for a new campaign. Guess who their old branding firm was? His company. Apparently, they missed a deadline, botched the rebranding, and were nearly sued. The client smiled at me during our first meeting. We're glad to be done with the last team. Total disaster. I hope you're nothing like them. I smiled back, sugar sweet. I promise, I'm nothing like them. After that deal, everything snowballed. Collaborations. Clients. Mentions in trade magazines. I didn't chase revenge. But somehow it found him anyway. People started talking. Whispers of his company losing contracts. His Instagram went from couple photos with Delilah to long-winded captions about rebuilding and growth through struggle. Translation: he left him. The girl he showed off to his family, the one he replaced me with, had moved on. And now he was alone. One morning I received a call from an unknown number. This time I answered. Hi, it's Jason. His voice was hesitant. He sounded small. Look, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. And I get it. But I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything. I miss you. I messed up. Delilah and I. It was a mistake. I said nothing. So he kept going. I was stupid. I thought she was what I wanted. But she didn't care about me like you did. She didn't support me. She didn't believe in me. I miss the way you. I cut him off. Jason. Silence. You're not calling me because you miss me. You're calling me because your fantasy fell apart and now you're lonely. More silence. You don't miss me. You miss the comfort. The convenience. The woman who loved you unconditionally while you gave her crumbs. He inhaled like he might cry. I just want talk. In person. Just once. Please. I paused. And then said, all right. 1 hour. Café Noir. Don't be late. Why did I agree? Not to get back together. But because some things deserve to be witnessed in person. Especially when you've been preparing the perfect goodbye. He showed up wearing the jacket I bought him years ago. His hair was messy. Ice-tired. You look amazing, he said as if that would unlock something inside me. I sat across from him. Composed. He talked about the business, how things were falling apart. How Delilah left when things got hard. She said I wasn't ambitious enough. Can you believe that? I didn't respond. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. Jason, I said gently. What you did wasn't just cheating. You made me invisible. You erased me from your life before I even had the chance to walk away. His mouth opened, but I held up a hand. This isn't closure for you. This is confirmation for me, that I made the right choice. He blinked. You don't miss us? At all. I smiled. I don't even miss who I was when I loved you. He looked like he'd been slapped. Before I left, I slid a business card across the table. My name. My company. My face in gold embossed print. Next time you see someone at the top, remember the woman you left behind while chasing a temporary high. I stood. You didn't lose me, Jason. You let me go. And then I walked out of the cafe. Into sunlight. Into freedom. Into a life so big he couldn't even begin to comprehend it. A week after that cafe meeting with Jason, I received an unexpected email. Subject: Meeting request from Sullivan Group. My eyebrows lifted. The Sullivan Group was Jason's family's legacy firm, a real estate development empire with its fingers in commercial properties, hotels, and luxury condos. They were the kind of people who once looked down their noses at me during family dinners, asking pointed questions like, "So, you just do logos?" Back then I smiled politely and bit my tongue. Now I own the design firm they just tried to hire. Oh, the irony. The message was from his older sister, Victoria Sullivan. Polished. The kind of woman who measured worth by pedigree and net worth. She'd once accidentally introduced me as Jason's assistant at a charity gala. Well, she wanted a creative collaboration. I stared at the screen, rereading the email. We believe your fresh branding style could be exactly what Sullivan Group needs for its newest luxury project. Of course you do, Victoria. Because the designer you dismissed now had a waiting list. I didn't respond right away. I thought about it. Would working with them be a step back? Would it look like I was letting the past pull me in? Or was it the perfect opportunity? To remind them that I hadn't just survived. I'd outgrown everything they once thought I couldn't live without. 3 days later, I replied with a single line. Happy to meet. Wednesday at 2 p.m. My office. If they wanted something from me, they would come to my world. No more whispered pity behind wine glasses. No more power plays in their glass towers. This time I set the rules. They arrived precisely at 2. Victoria, their marketing director. And to my mild amusement, Jason's mother, Margot Sullivan. She once told me she hoped Jason would find someone more compatible for their legacy. Now she was standing in my lobby waiting to be impressed. I greeted them with the kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Thank you for coming. Would you like some water, tea, or maybe a reality check? Okay, I didn't say that last part. But I wanted to. We sat in the conference room, walls lined with accolades, design samples, and snapshots of high-profile clients. My assistant brought in espresso and pastries. Margot eyed the space with tight lips. Victoria, of course, was all business. Let's cut to it. We're launching a new coastal development in Monterey. We've seen your work with Blue Ivy Resorts and believe you'd be a perfect fit. I nodded. You mean the same Blue Ivy Resorts you outbid last year and mocked for hiring style over substance? Victoria didn't flinch. Business is business. Exactly. Which is why I didn't take it personally. But I wasn't going to make it easy. They presented their vision, glossy boards, mock-ups, a vague concept of modern serenity. I listened, took notes, and then closed the folder. You don't need modern serenity. You need reinvention. The Sullivan name feels dated, rigid, stuck in tradition. You need to feel alive again. Margot's eyes narrowed. Are you implying our brand is stale? I met her gaze evenly. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating it. That's why you're here. Victoria looked like she was about to argue. But then, she didn't. Because she knew I was right. They left with portfolios in hand, clearly surprised and begrudgingly impressed. Before they exited, Victoria turned to me. You've grown. I raised an eyebrow. I wasn't supposed to? Her mouth twitched like she wanted to say something else, but thought better of it. That night I got a call. From Jason. Of course. I heard about the meeting, he said softly. They loved you. I leaned back on my couch sipping tea. I know. You're amazing, you know that? I didn't respond. He sighed. Are you going to take the job? I considered lying. But what was the point? I haven't decided. If you do, maybe we could see each other more. I've changed, you know. I laughed. Not loudly. Just sadly. You haven't changed. You've just run out of people willing to put up with who you are. He didn't call again after that. Good. Because I wasn't doing this for him. 2 days later I signed the deal. Not because I wanted validation. But because I wanted legacy. Every sign. Every logo. Every design in their flagship project. It would carry my mark. Their future. Branded by the woman they tried to erase. Poetic. During the launch phase I worked closely with their project manager. An older gentleman named Charles who had been with the Sullivans for decades. He watched me during one of our sessions and said, "You're not here to prove yourself to them, are you?" I smiled. No. I'm here to prove they were never my measure of success. He chuckled. Good. Because they need you more than you need them. Exactly. At the grand unveiling of the Monterey project, I stood at the center of the crowd, dressed in midnight blue silk, hair pinned high, press snapping photos. Victoria gave a speech. Margot nodded from the sidelines. But it was me the media wanted to interview. Me they quoted the next morning. The future of design isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about creating your own. And right there on the front page was my name. Not as Jason's ex. Not as the girl they once ignored. But as the architect of their rebirth. After the event, Margot approached me. You've built something remarkable. Thank you. I was wrong about you. I sipped champagne. A lot of people were. She hesitated. Then asked the question I knew was coming. Would you ever consider reconnecting with Jason? I laughed, short, sharp, and real. Margot, your son introduced someone else to your family while I was still in his life. Her lips tightened. You don't recover from that. Not with time. Not with words. You recover from it by leaving. And never looking back. She nodded, eyes dim. Well, I hope you find someone worthy of you. I already did, I said, meeting her gaze. Me. The Monterey project launched like wildfire, glossy, elegant, and sleekly modern. Magazines hailed it as a bold rebrand of a legacy once left behind. My name was splashed in interviews, client briefs, industry blogs. People stopped referring to me as Jason's ex. Now he was her ex. Funny how that shifts when the spotlight moves. But as the world clapped for the Sullivan Group's comeback, I knew something the public didn't. Their shiny image? It was cracked at the foundation. And it was only a matter of time before it split wide open. The first sign came quietly. A contractor from the Monterey site called me in private. You didn't hear this from me, he said, voice low. But the Sullivans haven't paid half the crew in weeks. Some vendors are threatening to walk. I blinked. What? They're trying to cover it up. Keep the press blind. But this project is hanging on by threads. If one supplier pulls out. He didn't have to finish the sentence. As I already knew. The empire was bleeding behind the curtain. 3 days later, I received an emergency meeting request from Victoria. Her tone in the email was far from the polished professionalism I was used to. This was panic. Desperation. He came to my office alone this time. No assistant. No entourage. She looked paler, thinner, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. "We need your help," she said, cutting right to the chase. "Do you?" I asked, crossing my legs. "Because the last time your family needed something, it came with conditions." Polite dismissal. Thin smiles. "This is different," she said, voice cracking. "We're in trouble." She laid it out on the table. They'd over-leveraged their assets. Took out loans to finish Monterey banking on the pre-sales. But the housing market shifted. Interest rates spiked. Investors backed out. The whole project was teetering. "And you want me to what?" I asked slowly. "Use your name. Your reputation. You're the face of this project now. If you endorse it, put out a statement of confidence, the market will stabilize. Investors will breathe." I stared at her. The woman who once refused to call me by name. Who acted like I was wallpaper in their grand, gilded world. Now she wanted me to save that world? The silence hung heavy. "Why me?" I asked at last. Her voice dropped. "Because they trust you more than they trust us." There was the truth. That night I sat on my balcony, the city stretched out beneath me like a glittering promise. I thought of Jason. Of the girl he introduced to his family like I never existed. Of the hours I spent crying in silence, building a new life out of the ruins he left me in. And I thought about their empire, how they built it on exclusion, entitlement, and image. Now they were begging for someone they once discarded. It would have been so easy to say yes. To be the bigger person. To issue a statement, show up to a press conference, lend my credibility to their crumbling tower. But I wasn't the same girl who made carbonara in silence while her boyfriend kissed another woman. No. I was the woman with the match. The next morning I wrote my own statement. But it wasn't what they expected. I was proud to work on the Monterey project, until I saw how the workers behind its beauty were treated. I stand with the unpaid vendors, the contractors fighting for their wages. Legacy means nothing if it's built on exploitation. I will no longer be associated with the Sullivan Group. I posted it on every platform. Attached receipts. Emails. Proof. The internet exploded. By noon headlines swarmed. Designer of the Year cuts ties with Sullivan Empire over labor scandal. Monterey project imploding. Contractors speak out after designer's statement. Sullivan legacy crumbles. And the woman they erased is leading the reckoning. Jason texted me 5 times. Left voicemails. His voice cracked in the last one. "What are you doing? You're killing us." I didn't respond. Because the truth is, I wasn't killing anyone. I was just telling the truth. And if that truth burned them down, so be it. Victoria showed up again, this time at my apartment. No driver. No luxury bag. No makeup. "You've destroyed us," she whispered. I let her in. Because I'm civil. Even when I'm burning bridges. "No," I said calmly. "You destroyed yourselves the moment you forgot people weren't disposable." She sat quietly, staring at her reflection in the tea. "I didn't realize how much power you'd gained." "That was your mistake," I said. "And Jason's." 2 days later, labor lawsuits were filed. Sponsorships pulled out. The Monterey launch was halted. And Jason? He showed up at my office. Unannounced. Uninvited. He looked like a shell. Eyes sunken, blazer wrinkled, desperation clinging to him like a stench. "Can we talk?" I folded my arms. "You have 2 minutes. You've made your point. You've won, okay? But this is my family. Our legacy." "No, Jason," I said coldly. "This was always about you thinking I'd forgive you. That I'd come running when things got hard. I didn't know what I had." "Yes, you did. You just didn't think I'd ever leave." He stepped closer. "Please. Help me fix this." I looked him in the eye and smiled. "I'm not here to fix your empire, Jason. I'm here to build mine." Then I turned and walked out of my own office, leaving him standing in the ruins he created. By the end of the month, my firm received 3 new offers, from competitors of the Sullivan Group. One of them wanted me to lead the creative direction for a development in Paris. I said yes. Not out of spite. Out of evolution. Because the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's indifference. It's success. It's never looking back. Paris was different. The city breathed in colors softer than sorrow, and my mornings began with cappuccinos and contracts, not compromises. The view from my penthouse office looked out over the Seine, and the nameplate on the door didn't say Jason's girlfriend. It said, Amelia Grant, Creative Director AG Studio Paris. My studio was flooded with light and filled with a team who respected me, not because of who I once dated but because of who I was now. The Sullivan name had become a cautionary tale in business schools. Mine was now the blueprint for Rebirth. It was late spring when I saw his name again. An international real estate publication published a piece titled, From Legacy to Liability, The Sullivan Group's Collapse. Their Monterey project had officially defaulted. Investors pulled out. Multiple lawsuits were underway. Margot had stepped down. Victoria had gone dark. And Jason? He'd been removed from the board. It didn't bring me joy. Not in the way people think. It just brought peace. Like the final page in a book I never planned to reread. Until one morning he appeared. In Paris. My assistant entered my office, her brow furrowed. There's a man downstairs asking to see you. He says, he's Jason Sullivan. I didn't flinch. Tell him I'm unavailable. She hesitated. He's crying. I paused. Then stood. Send him up. Not because I owed him anything, but because I wanted to see what desperation looked like. Up close. He entered like a ghost of a life I'd buried. Flimmer. Haggard. No trace of arrogance. The once effortless charm now replaced by a rawness that was almost painful. You look incredible, he said softly. I said nothing. Just gestured for him to sit. He didn't. He fell to his knees. Amelia, I have nothing left. No one. You were right. About everything. About her. About me. I didn't stop him. I was stupid. I thought I wanted something new, something exciting. But it was never about her. She didn't love me. She loved the version of me I lied about. I folded my arms. And what did you love? You, he said, voice cracking. Always you. I just didn't realize how rare you were until I lost you. I tilted my head. No. You realized how rare I was when everyone else stopped picking up your calls. His breath caught. I continued. You didn't lose me because of Delilah. Or your family. Or stress. You lost me the moment you decided I wasn't worth introducing to the people you claimed mattered most. Please, he whispered. I don't expect you to take me back. But, is there a version of us where you could forgive me? Where we could at least talk? I stood. Jason, I said gently, I'm not angry anymore. I don't hate you. I don't even think about you. He blinked. You're just irrelevant now. And that's what truly hurts, isn't it? Not that I walked away, but that I kept walking, until you disappeared behind me. He bowed his head. I walked to the door and opened it. This is the last door you'll ever see me behind, Jason. And then I closed it. Swiftly. Finally. That evening I watched the sunset from my balcony. Paris pulsed below, alive with movement and light. I didn't toast. I didn't cry. I just smiled. Because there's a certain power in knowing someone once tried to erase you. And now they can't stop seeing you everywhere. In magazines. On billboards. In their failures. The next day my assistant handed me a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Margot. Short. Precise. You were always enough. I just wasn't strong enough to see it. I hope my son learns from the woman he lost. I folded it, placed it in a drawer and never opened it again. Some words are too late to matter. Months passed. I was invited to speak at an international design conference. Topic: Rebranding Power. During my keynote I paused mid-sentence and looked out at the sea of faces. And I said, don't wait for someone to see your worth. Show it to yourself first. Then build a world so bright. The ones who once looked past you can't bear to look directly at you anymore. The room erupted in applause. But I wasn't performing for them. I was speaking to the girl I used to be. The one who made pasta in silence while someone else wore her name like it was disposable. Backstage someone approached me. Your story, it's powerful. Do you think you'll ever let love in again? I smiled. Maybe. But I'll never shrink again. That's the real lesson. 1 year later. The ballroom of the Verité Global Design Awards shimmered in gold and white. Crystal chandeliers reflected off marble floors. The elite of the international design world mingled beneath the canopy of fame, legacy, and ambition. But all eyes were on one woman. Me. Amelia Grant. The girl once forgotten. The woman they couldn't ignore. I wasn't nervous. Not like the first time I stood on a stage, hands trembling, voice caught between doubt and hope. Tonight I wore confidence like silk. Custom navy gown. Hair in a sleek knot. A diamond bracelet. One I'd bought for myself. My name had just been announced. Global Innovator of the Year. A standing ovation erupted. But I only heard silence. Because my focus had narrowed to one seat. At the very back. The uninvited. Unacknowledged. He stood in the shadows, jaw clenched, hands buried in the pockets of a cheap suit. Not designer. Not tailored. Not power. He'd faded from the man he used to be. And now he watched me shine. I stepped onto the stage and took the award. Heavy. Cool against my skin. A symbol. Not of revenge. But of everything I built without him. The MC handed me the mic. Amelia, she said, your journey has inspired millions. What would you say to the younger version of yourself watching right now? I smiled, eyes scanning the crowd. But my gaze never reached the back row. I would tell her that being forgotten was the greatest gift, I said calmly, because it taught her how to become unforgettable. Silence followed. Then applause, roaring, thunderous. But I didn't hear that either. Because in my mind I was back in that tiny apartment. Folding laundry. Watching a social media post of him introducing her to his family. Thinking I would never be enough. Oh, how far we'd come. Back inside, someone else was waiting. His name was Lucien Moreau. A French architect with ocean blue eyes, calloused hands, and a quiet strength that didn't need to be loud to be felt. We'd met months ago during a joint project in Lyon. He never asked about my past. He only ever looked at me like I was already the whole world. Ready to go? He asked, offering his arm. Yes, I said, linking mine with his. I didn't glance back. Not because I was being cruel, but because some doors once closed should never be reopened. As we walked through the streets of Paris, laughter and music in the air, Lucien looked over at me. What are you thinking about? I smiled. Legacy. Yours. Ours, I said, pausing under a street lamp. You've come a long way, he said gently. I didn't come, I corrected. I rose. The end.